Okay, boys. Boys. This is another big edition of Whatchu Spinnin. This is episode 48, 2 weeks away from episode 50. We'll go ahead and intro what we're doing for episode 50 right here, right now. Let me actually...
Just smile, man.
I know, you're a fucking midget.
Give me some bucks.
Pedal extenders. So episode 50, 2 episodes from now, we'll be going ahead and doing instrumentals again. Instrumental part 2.
Oh yeah.
I've had my pick for this since like episode 30.
Mm-hmm.
I know you boys are excited. I'm excited to see what y'all bring. We're at Matt's place again, hanging out in the sun. Great, beautiful day. I am going to get an absurd sunburn. But
we'll trade off.
We do it for the love of the game, though. We do it for the love of the game.
I'll mix it up.
And waiting in the rafters to help us go into my album for this week, we've got a good friend of mine, my roommate, longtime roommate, but more importantly than that, it's my brother. Yeah, you know it's my brother, Vinny Hendo, the Rain Man himself. Yeah, let's go ahead and give a big welcome to Gavin. Yeah, my brother. How you doing, bro?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing pretty good.
Oh,
What up, man?
What's up?
Hell yeah. Well, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. My pick for this week, if y'all remember, was Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper. His second mixtape released in 2013, which is an album that me and Gavin play a lot, talk about a lot. We may or may not play 10 Day more, but either way, it's still appreciated around the carpets. But yeah, let's go right on into it. Gavin, what do you got to say about it, bro?
Honestly, it was one of the starting hip hop albums that really got me into kind of underground the Chicago scene. Around that, which branched off into the Social Experiment and his whole arc with them. But Acid Rap itself was really, I fell in love with 10 Day, and then when he dropped Acid Rap not long after, it was one of the first free albums. When it came out, he didn't make anyone pay for it. He actually dropped all of the audio files on his website, so you could go and get it for free, which was really cool. And so, being a broke high school student, I appreciate that. On top of that, just had banger after banger.
Yeah, hard to find a skippable song on this, you know, whether it's the first half of the album to the second half when you get into like Acid Rain and shit. Just there's so many strong runs. But yeah, I know you and I have talked a little bit about it. Obviously, he and I have, but Matt, this was kind of
it's my introduction to Chance.
Yeah, you were kind of a Chance virgin.
Take a chance. No, I liked it. It's got that, jazzy rap kind of vibe to it, but the vocal and lyrical delivery is just so real, and it's on point. He's good at what he does. I haven't listened to anything else he's done, but this is very eclectic and just a fun album for me to listen to in general. It's the second mixtape, is that right?
Yeah.
And the first one is up to 10 Day?
That's 10 Day. Okay. Yeah, and that one...
Why do you guys like that one better?
I mean, shit...
Honestly, that one's just really real to me. So what happened is he got suspended for 10 days from school for having weed in his backpack. Somebody told on him for having weed in his backpack in high school. And so in 10 days, he recorded this whole mixtape and then dropped it. It was really the start of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the opening track is called 14,400 Minutes. Okay. 14,400 Minutes, which is isn't it the equivalent to 10 days or something like that? Yeah, it's kind of like the 10,000 days like Tool thing. Mm-hmm. And so the opening track, and dude, that, I mean, fuck. I gotta get that album so that way we can cover it, because I was listening to it a lot this week too. But yeah, Acid Rap, one of the things that I really enjoy about it is you get a lot of artists that are really big nowadays. You get like young features from them. So you've got Action Bronson, you've got Saba, Childish Gambino. What was that, G?
And Ab Soul.
Oh yeah.
Absol.
Fuck yeah, Smoke Again, Young Absol on there.
Dude,
Like,
yeah, I forgot like how many people were on this. Like Saba, like it's very different to like his Care for Me album. Which was cool that he was still on this. Action Bronson. We even get Vic Mensa. Like this is like a decent song from Vic Mensa that I hadn't heard in a while.
There were a lot of people. Twista was on here too.
Yeah.
This is a throwback to my day, which is funny.
It is, and Gavin, you brought up a great point. This was, and speaking of Twist and everything, because he ended up doing, or way prior to this, that's a fucking stupid way to put it. But he did stuff with Kanye, so he was connected to the Chicago scene, and then obviously BJ, the Chicago kids, Saba, like all of these kids were in Chicago, and then it was like, hey, just come on this track,
Apparently, I was reading up something that said like 30 to 40% of the time he was like on acid or like on some sort of psychedelic or something, like making this album, which is cool. It's like the inspiration, like it wasn't obviously the focus of it, but it was like kind of inspired him to do it. And I guess that's obviously the title of the album,
right?
Acid Rap. But yeah, I feel like this album was such a moment, like so specific for a lot of like young people, like in high school or like wherever they are in college or whatever. Like you just think about some of these songs and it's like just brings you back to a moment. Like especially Juice. Bummer that it's not on streaming. You had to like look at YouTube or whatever.
24 hours it will be.
Apparently that's what Dorian says is going to be on streaming. That'd be really cool. They couldn't clear the sample or whatever, but yeah, that song was definitely like a summer jam. Like, everyone's always bumping it.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking this morning, and I was like, yeah, the day I graduated high school, I started off with Graduation by Kanye West because I'm a stereotypical stooge, and then and then the rest of it was acid rap. And speaking on the hallucinogen psychedelic part, Gavin, what do we always say that Chance shouldn't have done? The two things he shouldn't have done?
Stop doing acid.
And got married. He shouldn't have gotten married, and he shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have stopped doing acid.
Yeah, his like newer album, The Big Day or whatever.
Garbage.
Yeah, I did not like that album. This was, I feel like, definitely his stronger.
Drugs was Eminem, the rapper.
What was that?
Two people that profited strongly off of doing drugs was Chance the Rapper and Eminem.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That is a very solid point. But one thing that I, because like I actually didn't know that it was just listed on his website and you could just go download the tracks because like you got into him before Acid Rap came out. Acid Rap was my introduction to him. And so like I was bussing tables at Dakota's and I'd be sitting there swabbing the floors, and my buddy John, who is now a video and photo guy for the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans, shout out my boy. He got me taught me how to smoke out of a bong, and B got me into Chance the Rapper, and he put on Juice and Smoke Again one night, and I was like, why does this like weird ass voice, like why does it just sound so good? And it was the SoundCloud days too, like before streaming services popped off. All of this shit was on SoundCloud, and the one thing that kind of chaps my ass about it being on Spotify is that Pusha Man and Paranoia got separated to two different tracks. Because if you remember, it was like 2 to 3 minutes of silence. But after Pusha Man, it was Paranoia was a hidden track. So it was Pusha Man would play, and then you would get like 2 minutes of silence, and then that beat would kick in for Paranoia, and it actually added this element, you're like, what the hell? Like, why isn't the next song coming on? And then after that silence, that weird beat kicking in, it was like, ooh. Like, even talking about it is giving me leg goosebumps right now, because it's like, because it was so nice. But
that's a deep pull. Damn.
It is, yeah. And then that's why, like, I like the album, it does it on the LP as well. It has the hidden track aspect to it.
Juice is on there, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is a self-release.
Cool thing about physicals,
Yeah, you got to get the physicals.
I liked a lot too. I was surprised on Acid Rain that Jake One produced it. Jake One, he's produced songs for like Danny Brown, MF Doom.
Really?
Yeah. So that was cool. I didn't know that. I was looking at the production like list as I do.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I caught that. But a lot of the production on it was like kind of just people I had never heard of. Like,
yeah,
like
them people. Fuck, I think BJ even has like a production credit on this. BJ, the Chicago
something
kid,
like that. Yeah, but yeah, no, like super like solid for a mixtape. Like having that production, the feature list, like everything. It was good. And,
yeah,
like, it was an introduction to a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people heard of Chance the Rapper through this album mainly.
Very much so. Like after, like when I get home, I'm gonna do another Skype call with my sister and her boyfriend, because they have a painting of the album that came out after this, or his first like actual album, the coloring book. They have a painting of that in their living room. And so, like, when I brought this up, like, I had been sitting on this for a while because I was like, I want to do it when the time's right. And, you know, last week with us doing The Wall and, you know, Spin Fest, as we called it, I had two things in mind. I was like, got to get G on, and then got to have a little side shoot with my sister and her boyfriend, because he does rap music. Like he's a rapper, and we always talk about it. And so, like, that being said, and I could also call like 3 other motherfuckers. Like this could be like, I could dedicate just like an hour and a half just to this album based off of the people that I know that this album influenced. And if we want to talk from a lyrical standpoint, there's all sorts of good shit, you know, going on this, you know. Around here, it's easier to find a gun than it is to find a fucking parking spot. Gavin, you and I always quote Acid Rain. Wore my jacket as a cape and my umbrella as a cane. You know, just there's just so many little one-liners off of it, or whatever. Fucking
necklace.
What was that?
The richest man wears the snatches necklace.
Yes.
Yes. That follow-up line afterwards.
Yes.
How he's influenced by these people that have, you know, by Kanye, as you said, and then he went and networked with people like No Name, who's very she's very in the know. She's very conscious, you know. And on one of his songs, I think, is like a really big just, it's very telling to him being very conscious as well to the state of things, the world, especially Chicago itself and where they grew up.
Right.
Yeah. It's very influential.
Sorry, go ahead, Gavin. Finish up.
I'm sorry, there's probably a delay. It's like you said, it's just very influential, like to people of the scene, to people around there, to people who grew up in that area, and just people who want to contemplate, you know, the state of the world in general. I think it's a very good, conscious album.
Yeah. That was going on a lot too, like when, like, a lot of this like psychedelic, like acid hip hop, like with A$AP Rocky, with Flatbush Zombies, they were very like kind of opening up their mind and like speaking, like, and the stuff they're rapping about, it's like very like in the moment, like in time, what's going on with the world. And you hear that with what he's rapping about too. Like one of the songs that I feel like helped a lot of people, Everybody Something.
That's a great track.
Yeah, it's like just
good one.
Kind of speaking about, you know, like sometimes you feel down or depressed or whatever, but it's like there's something more to that. Like it's
we all belong to somebody.
Yeah,
it's something in a sense. Yeah,
you're not like nothing. You're not like worthless. Like there's always worth to someone.
Yeah, you're not worthless. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually my senior quote. My senior year was "Everybody's somebody's everything."
Oh, nice.
Was my senior quote. All my yearbooks are locked in an attic, and your fucking Bailey brought out hers, and it made me text my mom. I was like, please give me my yearbooks. I was like, I fucking need them. I was like, give them to me, because I wish I had it so that way I could, like, you know, cut that in right here. But no, that song in particular is, you know, very exactly. It makes you, that song helped me out a lot, because I was going through some shit my senior year. That's why that ended up being my senior quote. But I feel like also the good ass intro and then everything's good ass outro.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to pick which one is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
The first line I texted it to you guys today from Everything's Good. Remember sitting in class the first time listening to Dilla. Everything's good. Like just the Jay Dilla shout out is like, damn, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he samples Jay Dilla on that song. Or what song is that?
Everybody something.
Yeah, Everybody Something. That's Fall in Love. That's off that song that he samples.
Really?
That's a Dilla beat. Yeah.
I didn't know that either. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. All right.
It all checks out.
It all
checks
carries.
out, yeah.
And a cool thing about that song that I read up yesterday while listening to this, that phone call at the beginning was authentic. The phone call from his dad that's like, hey, I just want to let you know I couldn't get that laptop or whatever. That was an authentic phone call. Vic Menza was in the studio with him and actually said that Chance got the call and knew because every time his dad calls him, he says something like super sentimental or is like just his dad's a fucking sweetheart, basically. And so Chance was like outside of the booth and got this call and his dad started talking and he ran in and just held his phone up to the mic on speakerphone and got that whole phone conversation.
Nice.
And then after the phone call ends, he says, "Thanks for coming, guys." Which is him addressing the audience and being like, "Hey, thanks for listening to this whole album. Here we go." And then it ends up being one of my favorite songs on the album as a whole. But no, man, fucking acid rap. G, do you have any closing arguments?
No arguments. I think I wore
The
the
album
pink
covers too.
tie-dye just to represent him. I think it was a wonderful album, very representative of the area and of the people and the artists that come out of there. It really branched into even further down the road, and I think we'll see if he gets back to the roots with it in the next couple albums. But this has a very special place in my heart, and I'm glad you guys brought it up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's aged like super well, I feel like too.
Like, yeah.
It's something where it definitely feels very like kind of time capsuled in a specific like time setting to a lot of people.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, it's a great one for sure. Like early 2000s, like mid 2010s. It's right there with the other albums that came out that year. So
yeah, like you said, it's a perfect it's kind of it's like kind of removed from what was going on. 2013 was an insane year for music in general, but for rap music in particular, like Pitchfork, which we can argue we could argue the validity of them nowadays.
Sure.
We could argue that all day because they're kind of fucking clowns at this point. But they like to just mention another album that we've covered. 2013, the best hip hop album that year was RTJ2 from Run the Jewels, which we covered. And I was like, so you had stuff like that was getting recognized, and then you had shit like this. I think because The Internet by Childish Gambino came out that year, or maybe the year after. So 2013 was really this. It was kind of this hodgepodge, it was kind of like the late 90s for music as a whole. 2013 for hip hop was really fucking wild. And then 2 years later, you've got the Migos and fucking Designer and Future popping off. But G, you one thing that I want to get from you is you mentioned that you're wearing tie-dye and you have a relation to tie-dye and Chance. Do you want to go into that real quick?
Oh yeah, I was telling Dory last night. The song "Juice" really got me into tie-dye, and just so if you watch the music video on YouTube, I think that the juice what he's talking about is that swagger. He wears a jacket underneath a leather jacket, and I just thought that was so cool as a little high school kid. I was like, ooh, that's a cool look. And I kind of tried to start pulling off tie-dye, and that's why I had to rock it today.
Hell yeah.
That's cool.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, that's what he's wearing too. Like that's like a real photo, unlike South by
I was
Southwest that
gonna
he
say,
did.
yeah, it's a real pic.
Yeah, he's wearing the tie-dye tank top.
Yep. Yep. And there's like we could go into there's so many weird fan theories about his album covers for the first 3 projects that he put out. 10 Day, it's a picture of him looking up, and people have said that that's representing him looking up to a bunch of rappers, you know, because he was just coming out.
Okay.
And then this one popped off and people were like, oh, this is him looking the rap game in the face, you know, he's like, I'm part of this now. And then Coloring Book, when he really fucking exploded back in like 2016, is him looking down and being like, I'm one of the top rappers in the game right now. And so like that's just a wild fan theory.
Sure.
That exactly, may or may not be true, but is really
cool though.
Exactly is really cool to look into.
That's sick.
But I think we've done a really good job of covering this, you know, talking about it. And G, as you know, we got to do honorable mentions and top 3s. And as our honorable guest, I'd like you to go first. You got any honorable mention top 3s for this?
Ooh, man, I would have to go number 1. Everybody else said it too. Somebody's Everything is electric. Everybody's something. Smoke Again was a great one. It was a great summer vibe hit. I loved Absol on it. And then I'd have to go with Juice, just because that was my song.
Juice.
Hell yeah.
So hard to pick, though. There's so many really good ones, but those ones.
Hell yeah. Any honorable mentions that didn't make the top 3?
Oh, man, most of them. Everybody was doing Cocoa Butter Kisses for a long time. That was the song that everyone was bumping. Favorite song with Childish Gambino. That one's awesome. The kettle drum track on that's beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Great picks. I'll go ahead and go next. Honorable mentions for me. The last 2 tracks on the album. Everything's Good, Good Ass Outro, and Chainsmoker. Those are my honorable mentions. And then number 3, Paranoia. Number 2, Everybody's Something. And number 1, Acid Rain. Have always loved that song. And it's just that one, it was a toss-up. Like if Chainsmoker would have been my, like if I would have done my top 3 like 2 days ago, Chainsmoker would have been it. But this morning I had to switch them out. But yeah, those are mine.
Good choice.
Yeah, if I'm going honorable mention, I'm gonna go Cocoa Butter Kisses. Top 3, I'm gonna go Juice, Everybody's Something, and then Acid Rain. Yeah, because I feel like he was a lot more lyrical and a lot more personal in that song.
And he kind of, just to go back into it real quick, he was kind of more lyrical and more introspective on the second half of the album, which is why I like it. You know, I fuck with the first half for sure, right? But that second half, especially like the last 3 songs on it, it's like, damn, he's actually really, you know, getting into his own mind or whatever.
Like he wrote stuff down for it, and it was like thought out. It was a lot more like of a process that he did for it. Yeah. So,
what was that, G?
I really like how you guys said that. He's more introspective on the second half of that. It's kind of like doing a tab of acid. You're very party-like and just bubbly and fun on the first part of it, and then towards the second half, you start getting more thought out and thought. So yeah, I totally agree.
Very much so. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I like the first half of the album stood out to me a little bit more.
Okay.
I just felt like it was a little bit stronger music-wise, and it just set the tone for me. But the second half was good as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of my choices are from the first half, so I bring it up. But honorable mention, Smoke Again.
Yep.
Fun track, like you said. It's got that summer vibe kind of feel to it. Then 3, 2, 1 got Cocoa Butter Kisses, Paranoia, and then Everybody's Something.
Yes.
Nice.
I love that that's a mainstay between the 4 of us, you know, is Everybody's Something. But fuck yeah, man. G, can't thank you enough for hopping on. Appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all.
Good to see you, Gavin.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But we're going to go ahead and dive into the rest. You have a great day. If I don't see you before you go scooting, be safe.
Thank you, guys. I'll catch y'all later.
All right. Peace out. Much love, bro.
Later, guys.
All right.
Who was that guy?
That's my jam. That's my jam. That's my jam. I'm about to jam. Ooh, you're right. It is a little toasty on this side.
If it wasn't so glary, I would just move the fucking thing. But
it's toasty on this side, but I got the high chair now.
And you got the high chair and you got the melanin. So
I got I'm getting all the nutrients.
Yeah, you're photosynthesizing.
Nucleus sized. I'm about to start flowering.
Within the man, we find
his
nucleus.
His nucleus? Yes.
Yes. Oh, gotta get the fucking nacho in there.
Dude, music or movie soundtracks.
Dude, movie soundtrack.
Yes,
that is one.
Another day we gotta just do. We should just do that 1 week.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to make it a special episode. I think we just do it.
Yeah.
As like a
I have a
throwaway.
friend that has a Phil. Huge hint. I have a friend that has a Phil Collins movie soundtrack.
Tarzan.
A Phil Collins. It could be anything.
If it's the fucking Tarzan soundtrack, dude, have that mofo come. I'll allow a fourth album to listen to the Tarzan soundtrack. Yeah. That's my favorite movie soundtrack outside of Social Network.
That's a good one.
With Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Tron, Daft Punk, all Daft Punk. Yes. Nacho Libre has bangers. Unfortunately, the vinyl I have doesn't have the best song from the movie.
And it's also been
it's been Gronkowski spiked into the ground by this fuck. We were one of the first times Jacob and I hung out outside of work. Was that after the show? That was before Zay, right?
That was before Zay, yeah. I had a carne asada at my place, at my parents' place. We had a bunch of people over, and
it was just you, me, and Kevin at this point.
It was just me, you, and Kevin before everyone showed up, and you brought Nacho Libre, and I was like, hey, let me play it. And then Kevin was like, here, catch, and he threw me something, and I had the vinyl on one hand, and my dumb ass tried catching it, and then
just pancaked my vinyl right onto the ground. It didn't break. It still played. I made him, because he was flipping sides, I was like, you have to start the first side over again. I was like, you have to make sure that shit's not broken. Or not fucking
it's fine though,
scratched.
Right?
No, yeah, no. It played perfectly.
It's part of the memories.
Oh, 100%. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I literally mention that every time like someone sees it. They're like, you have a Nacho Libre soundtrack? I'm like, yeah, actually, it survived getting just spiked into the ground like a touchdown celebration. Nah. Yes. I don't know if you saw, but Matt and I were talking about it. I've been leaving in some of these like side combos.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah,
they're funny.
Yeah, it's like good little sad talk. Yeah. Good little sad talk. But let's deviate away. Let's go ahead and get a little focused here. We're gonna go ahead and move right on. We just had a great time talking about Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper, featuring one of my best friends, fucking G-Man Gavin, talking about acid rap. Great time doing that. But we gotta go back in time and kind of switch the vibe up, but still very, kind of stony a little bit with Jake's pick for this week. So what you got for us, brother?
Yeah, so definitely going way back to 72.
Damn.
The year is 72 with Vulcans, Star Trek. It came out in 1972. This is the front. This is the back. Super trippy. It's some reggae, more specifically dub. Dub instrumental. This is the second time we're bringing up reggae. Second time it's dub reggae.
That's true. It's the second time.
Second time it's dub reggae. I've been kind of on a reggae bender recently.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't know, especially with dub with instrumental, like just something you could put in the background, either it be if you're cooking or if you're just hanging out or if you're smoking or whatever, just lounging. It's good music to listen to. I found out about this walking into Moonrock.
Shout out.
And it was just laying there. Callie was spinning it. And I was like, this is badass. Had to get it.
What is this circus music?
Right? It. Yeah. What are you guys' takes on it?
To start off with your point with you hearing it when you walk into a record store, I love it when you can find an album or a new artist that you've never heard of by that happening. It happened to me a few times at House of Records, and over the years it's been great to find new artists.
That's how I actually first heard Sade Villain.
Nice.
I hadn't heard that until me and George went there.
For record, right?
No, that was just one of the days that we went shopping there.
Oh,
it wasn't it was RSD 2 years ago.
No, it was RSD, yeah.
Yeah, it was the first RSD we went to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Record stores always have good music playing.
Yeah.
They always have
For the most part,
But sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, I was just saying that. Yeah, I found many artists, and this is a very unique artist, and what a great way to get introduced to him. It's got that like synthesizer, like brand new Moog just coming out kind of vibe to it. It's even got a song in there called, what is it?
Moogaboosh or something?
In the Moog Bush.
In the Moog Bush, yeah.
The ARP 2600 synthesizer.
Oh, okay.
Nerd.
Now you all know.
I didn't know that's what it's called, apparently.
Yeah. And it's
You're laughing way too hard.
And it's two different artists, is that right, on this album? We got the Vulcans, and then it's Colonel Elliot and the Lunatics is the second half of the album.
Yeah.
Which kept throwing me off because I kept trying to find more information about these guys, and it kept giving me different, it just kept giving me.
I'm going to go ahead and be honest. Yeah. I noticed that, and I was like, oh, he probably didn't want me to listen to that whole thing. And so I looked up what was just on the vinyl and only listened to what was on the vinyl.
That's fine. That's fine. Because, I mean, it's, it is two separate. So I guess what happened is this Star Trek, it came out in 1972. Mm-hmm. But the guy that did it, what's his name? Ken Elliott. Mm-hmm. He made, it flopped. Like when this came out, it flopped.
Oof,
so then he made a second group that is that.
Okay.
And they combined them. So that's why it shows up as two things. And it shows up as two titles in the album. It's Star Trek and then Interstellar Reggae Drive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's because it's that second part of the Colin Elliott and the Lunatics.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, initially when this came out, apparently it flopped. It flopped. It didn't do too well. The record label, Trojan, what's it called?
Ripped for her pleasure.
So dumb. I love that you crack yourself up. Trojan Records. Yeah.
Okay.
Trojan Records, they're very famous for reggae style artists being on their label.
Yeah.
So when this came out, they were like, hey, reggae's in, electronic reggae's in, with Moogs and stuff. Let's jump on it, and it flopped. So it didn't do too well, and then they re-released it. This is a repress. It's rare or whatever, one of 1,000 or whatever the fuck. But now that it's back, a lot of people, I was looking online, a lot of people apparently heard of it way back when they were older, older people, they'd heard it before.
Okay.
Don't know where, don't know how, but they had heard it before. But yeah, it's real reggae vibes with electronic, very synthy, very just kind of outer worldly, outer spacey even.
It's got the Star Trek name all the way.
Yeah, it's got the Star Trek, the titles, everything. It's real neat. The cover obviously kind of just, when you see it, it's just very trippy. Yeah, the dude with the huge hands.
Yeah, that's a cool cover.
All right, bro, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
I really liked it. If I had to pick between this and New World of Dub, isn't that what the other one was called? You and I were
New Chapter of Dub.
New Chapter of Dub. They're both very strong, but this one, it just, you kind of mentioned it. We played some MLB the other day, the three of us, and you were like, it just keeps going. You know, it just it's so cohesive and such a complete project that it flows one track to the next. And that was my takeaway too. I was like, man, it really is, you know, so, like one song will end and then the next one will just be like a little da, 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 like just kick in, and the Moog on it, or the fucking Atari 2600 synthesizer, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. I really liked that throughout it, and then it had just that. The guitar on it is just holding it down the whole time. It's just textbook reggae riff. Just anytime you hear that riff, you just got to do this head bob, just fucking back and forth, and it just and it's so good, and it is, you know, you put it perfectly, Jacob. It is great just to put on in the background, you know, and because there's no singing on it, you know, no vocals, and it is just that, you know, it's like, hey, here's the music, take it for what it's worth, and it takes you for a ride, you know. It does differentiate, but the fact, you know, I'll say it every time, I love an album that flows together like that, you know, whether it's a Tool album or Mad Villainy or, you know, fucking the Vulcans, you know, the fact that they were able to do that, you know, just one into the next, it's like, hey, we're just gonna bam, 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 hammer it out, was phenomenal.
And I like that it, I don't know, very like video game soundtrack-esque.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Donkey Kong Country bonus level shit.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Like, I'm really into that, like, weird kind of funky stuff. I've shown a lot of people this album. I played it at work a couple of times. I don't know if you guys remember.
Either Red Herring or Journey into Space. I meant to make a note of it, but one of those songs I remember specifically you playing back when we all worked together.
Yeah. I still talk to Anya every now and then.
So we got away with murder back then.
Yeah, Anya asked me the other day, like a while ago, she's like, what's that band you played that sounds like a dog's brain again? And I was like, oh, you mean this?
I remember her telling me that.
Shout out Anya.
Shout out Houseplants on Instagram.
Yeah.
Great.
Fucking I remember that you just unlocked a memory for me, because it was one of those two songs playing, and she looked at me because, like, you were helping a member, and she looked at me, she's like, doesn't this just sound like what a dog's brain is all the time? And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I guess.
I gotta send her this. It'll be funny.
That was good.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's very much like that. It's very kind of just randomness. It's very fun. Instrumental music with the reggae twist. I love that it has that reggae twist in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, very synthy, very, like, it sounds like old school, like what you would expect from, like, old school instrumental reggae like sound to it.
It is very textbook. You know, when you said, because when we were all at my place last week, we were all kind of like, oh, well, mine's from 2013 and it's hip hop, and then you were trying to think, you thought I was going to do Yeezus, and then you were like 1996, and I was like, well, that's fucking anything.
Right.
I was like, that's anything. And you said 1972 reggae, and I was like, is it just bringing up fucking Exodus by Bob Marley and the Wailers or something? That probably wasn't released in 72, but I was just like, is he bringing up the Wailers? Like, what's going on? And no, again, you know, just kind of like we said about acid rap, this was very much a time capsule for you know, the early, and it honestly, the electronic kind of aspect to it did make me think of Plantasia a little bit. I was like, it's got a little bit of a Plantasia vibe, which I do appreciate.
It's around the same time frame too.
Yeah, it was like, when was Plantasia?
70s, I think.
76 or something.
70 something around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also like Ken Elliott, like the guy that, like the main head honcho guy. He went on to work with Dillinger, and he's like a really big reggae artist, like massive.
Very much so. That's wild.
With him, he went on to work with him, and then also at the same time, the song Star Trek, Madlib, he sampled it in a series called Blunted in the Bomb Shelter. So I thought that was cool.
I've heard of that series.
I found it on YouTube that it was like a mix that Madlib did. So it's cool that even like, you know, nowadays people that we look up to in music like Madlib are like in the know of this. I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
No.
But yeah, definitely just some fun stuff. I knew you guys probably hadn't heard it.
No.
Besides when I had played at the branch, so I was like, hey, let's bring it up. I should have saved it for instrumental for sure. Looking at it now. But
I mean,
there's always some other stuff we can bring up. So.
Oh yeah, especially you. You have so many instrumental albums. I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think it was a good pick. You know, listening to it, I was like, oh shit, this is all instrumental. It's good to pepper in that kind of stuff. You know, to kind of to kind of counterbalance. You know, the stuff that, especially for this week. You know, with Matt's pick and my pick being very lyrically focused. I think that was. I think doing an instrumental album was actually really good. It was a good move.
Yeah, but yeah, if we want, I'll get into top threes.
Let's do it, baby.
Dive in.
Honorable mention. I'm gonna go. Honorable mention. I'm gonna go the end half of when it's with the band. Elliot and the Lunatics. I'm gonna go Jumping Jupiter. I like that song. It's not so much electronic. It still has that electronic feel, but it's not just focused on the electronic sound. It's like actual live instrumentation that they're using on it.
Okay.
But on the actual Star Trek album, top three, I'm gonna go Shanghai. I like that it has that kind of like ancient, like what's the word I'm trying to use? It's like not Aztec, not Chinese either. It has kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, man.
Huh?
I forget what it's called, but it's like it has like this very much Shanghai. It has like a.
I mean, the title's Shanghai, so I mean, you can kind of fucking gather it.
What's the word I'm trying to use though? It's like kind of like that region. It has like the Asian Chinese like esque to it, and I like that. It has like it sounds very regional.
Yeah.
To that.
Yes.
Vulcanized, and then Star Trek. Star Trek, the first song on the album, I feel like it starts it off really well, and you just feel that reggae, electronic feel to the whole album. So.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
I like it. I'll go next.
Do it.
Honorable mentions for me, Back a Yard.
Nice.
Really liked that end track to this album. Next, we've got Red Herring. I did like that as well. And then number 3 for me, Shanghai as well. Number 2, Dark Shadows. And then number 1, this is probably not very popular between the three of us, Dracula.
Nice.
I really fucking like Dracula.
It has like very high pitch, like screeching kind of.
Yeah,
like
and then the samples within it. Yeah, I want to suck your butt. It was like Frank. Yeah. It was like Frank Reynolds from It's Always Sunny kind of vibes. It was just very out there, very funny. I was like, I really dig this. But yeah, so Dracula for me was number 1.
I like it. Great pick. That's my number 1 too.
Hey,
hey nice.
The honks.
I'll go back to front. Honorable mention was In the Moog Bush. Just the song title alone for that album is just perfect. Just sums it all up. And then 3 was Red Herring. 2 was Journey into Space. And then 1 was Dracula for the sampling and just, I don't know, had like a zombie-esque kind of feel to it a little bit, you know.
It was like if Rob Zombie wasn't scary.
Yeah, right.
Like Rob Zombie could have made that song if he just smoked a little bit more weed.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, that was Star Trek by the Vulcans, released in 1972, which was Jake's pick for this week. We're going to go ahead and wrap this baby up talking about Matt's pick. We'll be right back. This is Whatchu Spinnin', episode 48.
Like my gray shirt turned into a super gray shirt.
Do you need your sunglasses from in there, or are you
22.
good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Good to go.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. All right. It's time to put a big old fat bow on episode 48. And in order to do that, we got to go back to the 90s and talk about some good stuff from back then. Yeah. What is that we're talking about?
I don't think we brought this artist up yet on the cast.
Nope.
Surprisingly.
Been going back and forth on which album to bring up. And the one that I did pick is not a favorite album of theirs, but it's my favorite. It's 1996 No Code by Pearl Jam. Kind of a cool album cover. Unique Polaroids. For the viewers, that is Dennis Rodman's eye. He was a fan of the band, and
really
they let him take that picture for whatever reason. And I'm sure there's stories behind the other pictures too. Definitely a departure from their sound. Mm-hmm. They had the grunge sound from 10, and their other two albums after that were very heavy in that kind of style. And this one kind of branched off, and they took elements of like world music and went back to that garage rock kind of sound with some of the songs on this album.
Almost a jam band kind of feel too at times.
A little bit. It's got our boy Brendan O'Brien on the production side once again, and I feel like anytime we bring him up, it's an album that, you know, has some backbone to it.
Remind me real quick, what have we covered of his?
Chili Peppers.
Yep, Blood Sugar. I was about to say, I was like, I think it was Blood Sugar, but no. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. And then we have Jack Irons coming in on percussion for the first time with Pearl Jam, and he was the original drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So
yes,
another Chili
indeed.
Pepper reference there. There's a little bit of tension in the recording process with this because Eddie Vedder is, you know, perfectionist, and some of the other band members felt that he kind of was too much involved in that sort. Jeff Ament particularly. But overall, it sounds great. I feel like it's different from what they've sounded like before, like I said earlier. And the start of the album is slow, and it builds up to that rock section, and then it kind of ends with a lot of poetic, kind of spoken word stuff. And for me, it's a well-rounded rock album. And for Pearl Jam and their discography being so vast, it's a standout for me. When it did come out, it was, you know, it hit top on the Billboard and just fell real fast because fans are like,
what the hell?
Well, what is this? So,
yeah.
What'd you guys think?
I think, you know, I feel like I say this every time we bring up an album from this era, but this one in particular, it is really a testament to why the 90s is like my favorite era for music. You know, you've got a band you've got a band in Pearl Jam that 10 came out in 91 was such a strong debut and was such like that sound is so distinct, you know. And then the other albums, as you had said, that came after it up until No Code were still fitting that mold. And then 5 years after 10 you get this and it's leaps and bounds away from where they started. And you know, so to have a band that at the beginning of the decade established a sound, and they're like, hey, we're one of like they're like the big four, you know. There's the big four of thrash metal, and there's the big four of grunge, which is Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam. And so they debuted that album, came out, and they were like, yeah, we're fuck you guys, like we are grunge. And then they go into this and you're like, what? And that's the beauty of the 90s, was that everybody was like, screw it, we're gonna do what we want, you know, because there was because multiple genres of music were so popular. You know, you had rap popping off, or like hip hop popping off, electronic music was getting really big, grunge music was massive, and you know, versus the 80s where it was very much, you know, bands that we now classify as like classic rock, but back then were hard rock, and then like stadium rock with like Twisted Sister and fucking Poison. There wasn't a lot of diversity or variety back in the 80s, and so the 90s, like, this is a true testament to that. You know, you've got a band that established one thing, and then 5 years later they come out with something completely different. Hell yeah. I love this album. I didn't listen to a whole lot of it. you know, I had maybe heard like Present Tense, you know, maybe some other songs off of it. It was one I didn't really dive into, but listening to it, it really made me appreciate, you know, Eddie Vedder, Stone Gossard, all of the guys, like the whole band. I was like, man, Pearl Jam is really kick ass, you know, for being able to do that just so short. Like 5 years is a long time, but as far as albums, not really. I mean, this coming from a Tool fan that waited basically 13 years for an album to come out.
Right.
But anyway, no, great pick. Thank you for allowing me to get back into this, because again, like I said, I didn't give it the full appreciation that it, in my opinion, fucking deserved. So,
damn.
You tied the knot to that bow like perfectly. I was like, well said.
All right, episode 48. Have a good week.
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. Like, because when I think of Pearl Jam, I think of 10.
Yeah.
I think of 10. I think of that album, just like the power that album had. And then when I heard this, like some songs, it felt like they were slower. Sometimes they'd build up to like Hail Hail, and then like those songs are like a lot faster paced and a lot more going on. And then it has songs that were just like a lot more mellow, and maybe has acoustics on it. It's like very slower pace. And I didn't know they had that side to them. Like I had just heard 10. I hadn't heard any of the other stuff. So yeah, it was a good introduction to the rest of their stuff. And yeah, like a lot of their songs, like Who You Are, I like that song a lot because it's like a lot more slower pace. It sounds a lot more, the lyrical content, it's like a lot more thought out what they were doing. And yeah, they kind of showed the best of both worlds, where they can do that like heavier garage style, like with Hail Hail, In My Tree, Habit, and then the slower stuff. So they did a good mix, like of different styles. I'm surprised that a lot of they had like 3 back-to-back albums that went like platinum or whatever.
First one not to go multi-platinum, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that their first 3 did, or first 4 did.
Yeah.
Or 3. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Just a little inside baseball, a joke I made, because Matt and I are probably the biggest fans of their first album, 10, that you'll meet. I would say. We would, back when we were working, I mean, before we worked together now, when all 3 of us were at the branch, we would make art
right.
to the words of Jeremy off of 10, and like put it on each other's desks, or like go into Microsoft Word and make yellow font that said Lemon Yellow Sun. And so, you know, we joked about that album all the time. And I was sitting there listening to No Code the other day, and I turned around and looked at Matt, and I said, I don't like it. And he was like, what? I was like, I can understand all of the words. I don't fucking like it.
Right.
And he was like, oh man, like just started dying. Which is, you know, just to exactly, just to give into a joke that, like, you know, us Pearl Jam fans have to deal with all the time. Like, you can't understand what he says. Listen to No Code. You can understand every word. Okay.
Yeah.
Chill out.
True.
And listen to 10 more than once, and you'll understand what he's saying. Clearly, he's saying resting his stone on a pillow made of concrete. Okay, and he is talking about a wizard on a whale. That's not misheard.
His vocal style is very different on this album too. He slows it down, and some tracks you're like, is that Eddie Vedder singing? Because if you don't know his voice, you can't tell, and you're used to him kind of doing that grunge specific sound. But a lot of the heavier songs they've made throughout their career are on this album, whether it be Habit or Hail Hail. Those are one of my standout favorites because they're just it's heavy Pearl Jam, which is a great thing to me.
Yeah. Can I make a comparison that you might hate?
Please do, because I've made plenty of them that I'm sure you want to stab me in the face for. So.
It had, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of this band that I'm about to compare him to. I'm a fan. Light fan.
No, you said.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
You said.
I'm a fan. I'm not like I don't like go out of my way to listen to these guys all the time. It kind of had a Dave Matthews feel.
Some of the tracks, yeah.
Some of the tracks, yeah. It had kind of that, like, not like bam, 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 bam. You know, Andy at the skate rink from The Office. Not exactly that kind of vibe, but the very much like, I don't know. Dave Matthews is very unique, right? Like Dave Matthews Band, very unique, very sound. Niche.
Yeah.
But some of the tracks on this, I was like, man, it's kind of got like a good, like, I kept referring to it in my head as good Dave Matthews. I was like, it's like good Dave Matthews Band. Like the good shit from them. Which again, you know, we talked about it was a massive departure from their, you know, mainstay grunge sound. But no, that was a weird thing. I was like, I hate that my brain is trying to make that connection, but I can't help it. Like,
that 96, that's huge. That's like Dave Matthews Prime almost. You know? It's
exactly.
Everything's blowing up. Everything wants to sound like that.
Yeah.
You know? Where's Hootie at?
Where's Hootie? Oddly enough, for some reason, I did randomly, because sometimes if I have trouble sleeping, I'll just read Wikipedia articles, whether it's about like serial killers, WWE superstars, or bands. And I read the whole story of Hootie and the Blowfish because you and I kept making jokes about it one day, and I was like, let me just read up on Hootie and the Blowfish. Sorry, weird side tangent, but no,
That's awesome.
I liked that part of it, you know, to where it's not experimental, because that's kind of hard. That's kind of a weird tag to put on something like this. But for them, it was, you know, it was truly, like I've said multiple times at this point, it was truly a departure from where they were, and they killed it. You know, as you said, Eddie Vedder's vocal style on this, massively different from the first 4 albums, and I really like it. You know, it was really hard for me to pick a top 3, but you know, you start off the album with Sometimes. Great track to start off with. And you know, Jake, you kind of said it starts off kind of slow, and then it kind of builds off of that and gets a little heavier toward the end. You both kind of said that, and yeah, but I think Sometimes that song in particular, and then going right into Hail Hail afterward, it's like, wow, that was a really fast build up to the harder stuff.
It goes a lot of back and forth. Like they have those really like where you could tell they're all kind of playing with energy, and then they die down and go back slower.
Yes.
Their pace.
Yes.
But the intro and like around the bend to end it off, they're very soft and subtle and kind of cap it off on both sides.
Kind of bookend it.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I really dug that.
I was reading up something that they said they were like boycotting like Ticketmaster and like all their venues.
That time in their career, I think so. Yeah.
What's that about?
I don't know. I think there were some issues on the tour that they had previously for the Vitology album, which didn't do well. That's another album that's just like kind of a throwaway album. There's a couple good tracks. Better Man.
If I was a better man. It's Gavin's favorite Pearl Jam song, actually. Not gonna lie.
Shout out.
So I think there were some issues with the ticketing when that tour was going on, and so they didn't like the way Ticketmaster handled it, and so they didn't want to deal with them. So
Well, and also, since
things haven't changed with Ticketmaster.
There's always
Ticketmaster sucks.
Yeah, there's always got to be some controversy. I feel like
when Tool canceled that show, it took me like 6 months to get my refund. But since we're talking about it, I went on like which I found funny that I hadn't done it prior. I went on like a full Pearl Jam just as a whole research. I didn't realize like how quote unquote political they were. You know, very much supporters of environment, of the, you know, protecting the environment, protecting the earth. Very big like pro-choice stuff. I didn't realize like how political they were. You know, well, probably because I hadn't like done a deep dive like that before. But it's very interesting. You know, like we've talked about Rage Against the Machine and Run the Jewels, 2 artists that are very much like, this is what we stand for, and you know, it's like blatant in their music, especially Rage. And then, you know, you get Pearl Jam, and you especially listen to this album, it's like, this is very like, for the most part, it's pretty gentle. Like, you know, it's very nice to listen to. And then it's like, they're not like aggressive, like, you know, borderline communism like some bands are, but it's like, wow, they're actually like pretty woke, you know, like that's actually really cool. Or cool. You know, like they were listed, like they were voted like planet defenders by like one of the biggest like world environment like groups.
Okay.
Like just because they've like
their soundtrack to their meetings that before they start.
It's just no code. Yeah. Like, but no, I was like, man, that's actually really interesting to think about. Cool. You know, like especially because they're very like they don't talk about that shit in their music. So if you never do that deep dive, you'll never know. But I don't know. Just thought that was cool, and I was waiting for a segue for it. So thank you.
That's neat.
good. I'm glad you guys picked up on some cool things about the album. Like I said, it's a departure album for them.
Yeah.
A fun one and my favorite, honestly.
Wild to me that the fans didn't like it back in the day.
Yeah. But I think it just goes to show you that the fan base was not as well trained with their ears at that time, and they were dedicated to that grunge sound. And I think a lot of those bands maybe wanted to stray away or just fine-tune a little bit better, because that was kind of not dying off, but it was definitely going away.
And I mean, 96 was kind of soon to depart from that. So I feel like people were probably like culture shocked a little bit. They're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Give me even flow, dude.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't need this Dave Matthews shit.
True, yeah, because I mean, just as a casual listener, like when I listened to this, it was very different from 10. Like it still had the same, certain songs had the same feel, the same energy, but they did a lot of back and forth where it's like, heavy stuff, and then it's like calmer stuff. And I was kind of, when I heard Pearl Jam and just seeing the cover and everything, I was like, okay, I'm kind of expecting something to be one off from 10 or similar to it. It kind of was, but it was very much its own album, like its own feel. You could tell they're kind of doing something different. So yeah, I don't know why some people weren't too much into it, but just as a casual listener, I feel like it's good that it's different. They're mixing it up, because if it's just the same sound, the same feel, it'll get old quickly. So
right
on.
Fuck yeah, dude. Thank you for bringing this up.
Heck yeah.
Like I said, it was really good to like actually dive into it, other than hearing the singles or whatever you want to call it that I had heard prior. I genuinely like it. Did you find this at a local shop, or was it one you had to order?
No, I found this at Moonrock.
Okay.
I felt like that.
Cool.
Nice.
I think I need to add this one to my collection just because of how unique it is for them. So, you want to top 3 it up?
Let's do it. Honorable mention for me on this is going to go the double with present tense and I'm open.
Yep.
Because they have that both spoken word. Present tense a little bit more.
I liked I'm open a lot too.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. I did. It was like you said, the spoken word aspect on that one. I feel like I'm kind of the opposite. Like you probably like present tense more, but no, I'm open. I was like, all right.
It was tight.
Yeah.
And then 3 would be Habit, which is such a heavy song. And then 2, Hail Hail, just because it's another heavy song. And then number 1, just because it's a song that a buddy and I would sing together. Off He Goes.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Just the lyricism and the way that song flows, kind of smooth, and then it gets kind of deep and heavy. And Eddie Vedder's vocal in that song is
fantastic.
One of a kind.
Yes. I'll go ahead and go next. Honorable mentions for me. First one was Around the Bend. Felt like you mentioned that it's a really good way to close out the album, and how the album's kind of bookended with Sometimes and then Around the Bend. Very good, like soft open, soft close. We're gonna keep that theme going. Other honorable mention, Present Tense for me. I'm open. It was really hard for me to pick, but the lyric that you shared with us, that's like, you could, fuck, I can't remember it off the top of my head. You know what I'm talking about. The one where it's like,
alone, digest and past regrets.
Yeah, realize you're the only one that can truly forgive yourself. That lyric in particular really resonated with me recently. So present tense, other honorable mention, and then 3, 2, 1, Off He Goes. Number 2, Sometimes. I had to get that soft open in there, and then number 1 was Who You Are for me.
Okay,
I like that.
That's a unique one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's definitely my top 3. Who You Are. This was a slower pace song. Honorable mention, I'm gonna go Red Mosquito.
Red Mosquito was really good.
That was a cool one. That was
like that one. Yeah. Like that one. Top 3, Hail Hail, In My Tree, and then Who You Are. That was my favorite song. Yeah, it's a lot slower pace. They could switch up lyrics on it.
Yeah, In My Tree has a good track too. That was a good one.
So good stuff, man. It's definitely another album of theirs that I'll come back to for sure.
Yeah, very much so.
And then
now you've opened the door. I'm gonna bring up 10 at some point.
We have to.
We have to now.
Alley-oop.
The alley-oop. But anyways, that was No Code by Pearl Jam, released in 1996. We're gonna go ahead and let y'all know what we're bringing up for next week to finish up episode 48. If someone needs to be killed, you kill him. That's the way. Okay.
Rest his head on a pillow made of concrete. Oh, I thought you were doing that.
Yeah.
Didn't show off my Eddie Vedder tattoo. I meant to do that during the cast.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Do you think they have fuck. How rare do you think a Mad Season vinyl is?
There's got to be a reissue at some point.
There's got to be.
Within the last 10 years.
River of the Sea. Fucking love that
kind of
album.
cool. Random pull.
Yeah.
Wonder why. I wonder where you got that idea.
Well, no, because I was doing an Eddie Vedder impression and did I Stay Away by Alice in Chains.
Which kind of builds into...
Yeah, shut up. Anyways, I'll stab you, dude.
It builds into me picking my nose. Sorry.
Do you want a leg tattoo? I'll give you a stick.
If it looks like Eddie Vedder playing tambourines, yes.
Did he even play tambourine? I was in a Pearl Jam in high school. Real quick, great sketch, Portlandia. Great Portlandia sketch about a dude with an Eddie Vedder tattoo playing 2 tambourines. Fucking hilarious.
That sounds good.
It is so good. Matt can find it, and please send that in the group chat.
Please send it to me.
It's so funny. But anyway, it's time to introduce our albums for next week, and we go in the order that we talked in this episode to kind of keep it spicy, which means that I'll be going first. And just as I inspired the boys a little bit past couple episodes, Matt inspired me.
Oh.
And
cool.
I'm going Dirt by Alice in Chains, released in 1992, and a true grunge staple. You know, we just talked about Pearl Jam, one of the big 4 of grunge, but we talked about kind of their departure from that genre. So I'm going with a grunge staple and an album that really does mean a lot to me. Been listening to this for fucking years. Really stoked to cover it. Dirt, Alice in Chains, 1992.
Oh yeah. My pick, I'm gonna go hip hop. It's been a while since I brought up hip hop. I'm gonna go Slum Village.
Thanks for that.
Yes.
Fantastic. Volume 2. Came out in 2000. A staple in hip hop and specifically Detroit, and just anywhere. It's still when it had J Dilla on it in the group. So
does this one have Dilla?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Dilla
You said
production.
volume 2?
Volume 2, yes.
Nice.
I'm excited for that bit.
Me too.
And I'm going to the Swiss from 2007, a band called The Young Gods. It's Super Ready Fragmente. You guys heard a little bit when we were testing it out. Kind of not techno, but definitely more of a uppity vibe. So
The Young
Good
Gods.
drive. The Young Gods.
Super ready. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, when we were playing that last time, it was good.
It was really good. Yeah, that was last time we were at your place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm already a fan.
Sweet.
Yes.
But fuck yeah. Young Gods, Slum Village, and Alice in Chains are what we'll be covering for episode 49. I feel like that's a good one to do right before Instrumental Day, you know?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Right,
yeah.
you know.
Definitely.
I feel like we unintentionally do this every time, you know, because I definitely didn't realize like, oh, next week is 49. I was just like, this is 48. And I feel like every time we have a themed episode, we all go wildly branched out. Like none of us do hip hop. Like there's not 2 of us that are doing hip hop, 2 of us that are doing rock,
Right.
kind of thing. So no, this is, again, we've managed to do that unintentionally, which is fire. Anyway, I'm Dorian. That's Jacob. That's Matt. Thanks for hosting, my guy. Shout out my boy Gavin for hopping on at the beginning of the episode. He will be back at some point. Anyway, this has been Whatchu Spinnin episode 48. Have a great week. Stay hydrated. Stay cool. It is getting hot out there. Go ahead and catch us next time for episode 49. Take it easy.
What?